Yes. So the second order derivative of a function captures its curvature. So you must have u double dash of x. The measure of risk aversion must start with u double dash of x. But it can't end with u double dash of x. Because the problem is, what is utility function? And utility function is simply an ordinal utility function. Right? So the point is, if u of x is a utility function, alpha u of x will also be a utility function. Right? Okay? So if you took the derivative, second derivative of this utility function, the second derivative will obviously be alpha u dash of x. Right? And if alpha is greater than 1, then this ratio will be bigger than this. So therefore we can't only settle for the second derivative. Right? What we need to do is divide the second derivative by the first derivative, so the alphas in both will cancel out. Right? So you know that if u is a utility function, alpha u of x is also a utility function. The first derivative of alpha u of x will be alpha u dash of x. The second derivative will be alpha u double dash of x. So the ratio will be independent of alpha. Right? Because utility functions are only ordinal. They are not, their absolute values don't matter. Their relationships matter. Right? Okay? Fine. The second point, of course, is that this introduces additional complication. We know that u dash of x is negative. Because what is that? Okay? U dash of x is positive, u double dash of x is negative. Because the slope declines, right? The second order, it's the rate of change of marginal utility. It's negative. So this u function will become negative because this will be negative. So to make it positive, we put a minus here. Right? We put a minus here. Right? We put a minus here. So minus of u double dash of x by u dash of x is what is called, it's a measure of risk aversion. Okay? It's actually a measure of absolute risk aversion and is called the Arrow-Pratt measure of risk aversion. It is called the Arrow Arrow-Pratt measure of risk aversion. Okay, it's called the Arrow-Pratt measure of risk aversion. So let me ask you a question. I have an individual okay, who works in the labor market, who derives his utility from wages. But to work in the labor market, he has to put in some effort, and he dislikes effort. Right? So his utility declines in the effort. So let us write, so u of w and e, okay, right, u of w and e is, say, square root of w minus e square. Right? Square root of w minus e square. Now think of e being fixed for a while. Right? Think of e being fixed for a while. Tell me what, so let's fix e and let only w vary. Right? Let's fix e and let only w vary. Right? So we can put a space, so we put u of w only. Right? Because e is fixed, we are saying that number of working hours is fixed and only the wages are going to vary. Right? So we have a y-axis on which we write the utility of wages, on the x-axis we write the wages. Can you tell me what is the degree of risk aversion? Is this person a risk averse person? Is this person a risk loving person? Is this person a risk neutral person? How will you answer this question? Which side to side? Right? So on this axis, I will write u of w, which is equal to what? Root w, because e is fixed. E is not going to vary. Right? So for a fixed e level. Okay? Right? So just like I am telling you that you will get a fixed wage of this much if you come to work, if you have to work 8 hours a day, right? That's fixed. and then I keep on varying the wages and I see how your utility changes. Right? Okay. So if W is equal to 0, what is the root of W? 0. If W is equal to 1, what is the root of W? 1. Right, so you get 1 point here, 1. If W is equal to 2, what is the root of, if W is equal to 2, what is the root of some root 2, etc. Right? If W is equal to 4, what's the root of 4? 2. So you will get some number here. Right? If W is equal to 9, what is the root of W? So you get 1 point here, another point here, another point here, and your utility function will be like this. Right? Whose utility function is this? A risk-averse individual. So this individual must be a risk-averse individual. Right? This individual must be a risk-averse individual. Okay, which gives me a concave utility function. Right? Okay. Now, tell me what will be the degree of risk aversion of this person. So I know, right? So how to find the degree of risk aversion of this person? I first take the second derivative divided by the first derivative and put a minus. So what is the derivative? So what is u dash of W is half W raised to minus, right, is equal to 1 upon 2 root W. Sure? That is u dash of W. What will be u double dash of W? Minus 1 by 4 W to the power minus 3 by 2. Right? Which is so I'll just write here as, okay, fine. So this is the second thing, right? Okay. So what do you now have to do? To get the measure of risk aversion, you must get minus u double dash of W by u dash of W, which is minus on W raised to minus half. Okay, and you have to put a minus. So the whole thing has to be multiplied by a minus, right? So if you do that, right, so what is the answer that you will get? What is W raised to minus 3 by 2 divided by W raised to minus half? Yeah? What is W raised to minus 3 by 2 divided by W raised to minus half? So to divide both sides, multiply both sides by W raised to minus half, this will go, right? Okay, if you divide this by W raised to minus half, you divide this by W raised to minus half. But dividing W raised to minus half is the same as multiplying by? Yeah. So this will be, this answer will be 1 by 8. No? What the answer will be? So 1 upon 8, 1 upon 2, correct? 1 upon 2 W, right? Sure? So what is this person? This person is actually this person's risk aversion, right? So as W increases, right, this person becomes less and less risk averse, right? This person becomes less and less risk averse. So 1 upon root W is the measure of risk aversion, absolute measure of risk aversion, right? So W is equal to 10. What will be this person's risk aversion? 1 upon 20, right? This person's absolute measure of risk aversion will be 1 upon 20 if W is equal to 10. This is okay? This is clear to everybody? Right? So that's how one thinks of risk aversion. What you calculate is the Arrowpratt measure of absolute risk aversion. Okay? What you got is the Arrowpratt measure of absolute risk. Now, you know why this is important? Why it's important? Because understand that when you think of people dealing with risky situations, it is absolutely important to understand the risk preferences of them. Look here. Suppose I am risk neutral and suppose you are risk averse. Okay? And you have a lottery which gives you 100 rupees on an average. I want to buy that lottery. Right? You want to sell that lottery. Right? So if I am risk neutral and you are risk averse, the lottery which gives you 100 rupees on an average will be worth 100 rupees to me. Right? Will be worth 100 rupees to me because I don't care. Right? Because on an average if I get 100 rupees certain, I am sure there's the same valuation. So I'll be evaluating it at 100 rupees. You will be valuing it at less than 100 rupees for sure. Because you would argue that I don't like the risk, you know, I'm getting on an average 100 rupees, I would much rather get say 80 rupees in hand. Which means that I will buy the lottery from you and give you 80 rupees in hand. That would be a Pareto improvement situation. Right? Sure? Because you can be made better off, no? Say maybe I give you 81 rupees. You'll be very happy. You say, I value this lottery at 80 rupees. I have actually got 81 rupees. And I'll be more than happy, right? Because I will say that I actually, you know, something which I value for 100 rupees, I'm getting it for 81 rupees. You see the point? Therefore, both of us will become better off. And therefore, it can be Pareto improving situation. What I'm saying here is that it pays therefore for it's sensible. If you want to have a Pareto efficient situation, it is sensible, then it implies that a risk neutral agent must ensure the risk loving agent. A risk averse agent. Right? You are risk averse. I am giving you 81 rupees in hand and I am taking the 100 rupee note, which means I am bearing the risk for you and giving you a fixed amount. Right? So I am bearing all the risk. I am taking the risk away from you, I am giving you 81 rupees. Right? Okay? Sure? So that is how a risk neutral agent, risk neutral person. So if there is a trade between two people, if the risk preferences are different, then the risk neutral it is efficient for the risk neutral person to take all the risk and for the risk averse person to get the fixed amount. Sure? Is this clear? On the other hand, if say you were a risk lover and say I were risk averse, or say if you are risk lover and if I were risk neutral, then it makes sense for you to insure me. Right? It makes sense for you to insure me, which is a kind of a franchisee arrangement. So suppose you take a CCD stall to run. I am a risk averse CCD company, right? You are a risk loving person. So you say whatever profits or losses happen, I'll bear the loss, I'll bear the profits or the loss, and I'll pay you a fixed amount as rent to run the to run the CC. It's a franchise, right? So if that becomes a franchisee arrangement, right? Okay. The important thing is what if both are risk averse. If both are risk averse, then the degree of sharing of the risk has to be in proportion to the degree of risk aversion of the two individuals. And that is what I am going to formally prove to you. So basic idea is, you have a principal who hires an agent to do something. He offers a contract to the agent takes the contract, and let us now understand under what situation. Here we will assume that the effort is completely verifiable. If the effort is not entirely verifiable, I have a problem. Right? For example, the logic implies that suppose I own a taxi and I am going to hire somebody to run my taxi and pay me a fixed amount. Right? I am risk neutral. That person who is running the taxi, who I am going to hire is risk averse. The outcome of his daily earnings are uncertain. Right? So what I just told you implies that actually I bear all the risks. So I say at the end of the day, you get a fixed amount of say 1,000 rupees a day for driving the taxi, and whatever shortfalls or the excesses, which I will keep because I will be bearing the risk, because I am risk neutral, you are risk averse. Right? But suppose the effort level of the taxi driver is not entirely verifiable for you. Then the best solution for taxi drivers obviously is he's going to get 1,000 rupees anyways, no? So why should he actually drag his taxi throughout the city in the hot sun and look for customers, etc., etc., right? He might as well just take the taxi in the morning, park it nicely under a tree, go to sleep, come back in the evening and take the 1,000 rupees home. Which will not work if the effort is not verified. It's only when the effort is entirely verifiable, right, that I can actually, that I can actually completely ensure it. Right? Therefore, you will see perhaps what you must look for is there are some taxi, the usual black and yellow taxi services in the city, are similar. That is, some people own the taxis, they hire people to run the taxis. But the agent effort is not perfectly verifiable. Right? So you typically have a situation where actually the agent pays the agent ensures the principal, and we'll see that more formally. Whereas if you have other kind of taxis which are the Olas and the Ubers, etc., where you can actually verify agent effort, you will in general have a situation where taxi drivers get a fixed amount and the taxi owners, the company bears the, right? So this is really the outcome of the maths that I'm going to talk to you about, right? Why that could be a optimal kind of an arrangement, right? Okay. Fine. So now some maths. Yeah? So basically we have a contract, right? And we'll understand how an optimal contract is designed if the effort level is perfectly verified. So what the principal has to decide is the amount of effort that the principal will demand of the agent, right? And the wage that the principal will pay the agent, okay? XI, because XI is the outcome. Right? XI is the outcome. So if I am selling ballpoint pens in the city, if I am hiring somebody to sell ballpoint pens in the city, I must decide how many hours that person is going to work every day and how many ballpoint pens he is going to decide. He is going to sell every day. I am going to say if you sell this much, I will pay you this much wage. If you sell this much, I will pay you this much wage. Right? I am assuming that the effort that he puts in is completely verified. So XI is the number of ballpoint pens he sells. I goes from 1 to n. So suppose that XI takes n values. He can say either x1 or x2 or x3 or xn type of ballpoint pens, and W of xi is the wage which I have to give him if he sells xi ballpoint pens, right? And that is to be specified as a contract before. So that person knows itna बेचूंगा तो इतना मिलेगा, इतना बेचूंगा तो इतना मिलेगा, right? Okay, right. Now I am also going to assume Pi of E is the probability that the ith outcome occurs given the effort level E. I goes from 1 to n, so x1 can occur. So P1 of E, for example, will be the probability that the person sells x1 amount of ballpoint pens given the effort level E. P2 of E will be the probability that the person sells P2 number of ballpoint pens given the effort level E, and so on and so forth. You will aggregate summation Pi must be equal to 1. It's a probability distribution, right? Summation Pi must be equal to 1. So let's look at the principal's problem. Okay, let us assume that I have to hire this agent, but this agent has a minimum utility which I must give him. If I don't give him that minimum utility, then he will not work in. Right, let us call his reservation utility U bar. You understood. You understood is the reservation utility of the dentist. So maybe if he doesn't work with me, then he can work at some sandwich shop next doors. So what I get is, when I hire him, I must at least give him that much utility, otherwise he will not take my part. It's called a participation constraint. Okay, it's called the participation constraint. So the principal's problem then is maximize. Okay, what does he have to do? Choose E W of xi See, what is this? Xi is the value of the output to the principal. If xi occurs, he pays W of xi. So xi minus W of xi is what the principal gets if I sell xi ballpoint pens. Right? So some function of that is the principal wants to maximize. But he really wants to maximize the expected value of this. Right, so what he's doing is x1 minus w x1 into p1 plus x2 minus w x2 into p2 plus x3 minus w x3 into p3. It's that kind of an objective function. So this is the expected benefit to the principal from from the transaction, right? Okay, expected benefit to the principal. He has to maximize this subject to where we are assuming, so this is the principle. The utility function for the agent is okay, right? Can you explain to me the meaning of the utility function? What is this? U of W xi minus V of E. When E is the effort level. So you get some utility from working, from the wage, you get some utility from working. I'll also assume here that U dash is greater than 0. What does that mean? When I say U dash is greater than 0, what does that mean? Marginal utility of wages is positive, right? If I say U double dash less than or equal to 0, I am saying that I was talking about diminishing marginal utility. I am going to say V of E is greater than 0, right? And I am going to say V double dash of E is also greater than or equal to 0. Right? What do you mean by V double dash of E greater than 0? What do you mean by saying V double dash? Why am I saying that U double dash of W is less than 0, but V double dash of E is greater than 0? We are saying that the disutility of effort increases with effort. So if you work more, you dislike work even more. Right? So we are ruling out all these cases where people actually enjoy work. Our compulsory economists don't say that. Right? They say you like the wage, but you dislike the effort. Right? Okay? Sure? Because so what they are saying effectively is, I like the salary that I get at the end of the month, but I don't really like what I am doing right now. Right? That's not necessarily true. Right? So, what they are saying is that your disutility of effort increases with the effort level. So you have a disutility curve going like this, you have the marginal utility curve going like this, and you know how you will get an equilibrium, right? Okay? Right. So So this is the problem we have. I hope everybody understood this. Oh my God, if I got this out, I should not have. Okay, so this becomes. Yes, I want to solve this problem. Okay. So what is this? What is this last line saying? What is the last line saying? What is the last line? Expected utility to the agent. The expected utility to the agent must be greater than equal to the minimum utility for which the agent will come to. This is called the participation constraint. Right? So what this says is, of course, the principal wants to maximize this function, but he can't drive wages too low. Right? Because ideally, what would be the best solution for the principal? The principal would say, I will not pay you anything, please come and work with me. Right? But of course, nobody will work for you like that. Right? So therefore, you must give me something. And that something is U bar here. Right? U underbar. Right? Okay. Now to solve this problem, we write it as a Lagrangian. Okay? So what would the Lagrangian look like?